Everybody, it's election night. If you guys are happy, I'm in between shows doing a couple different programs tonight. Just got done with WCIU, The Jam. I'll be in another program called Your Faith, Your Voice in about 45 minutes. So I figured I just want to hop in with you guys and just kind of talk about this and see what's going on and see how you're feeling. For those of you guys, hey, Catherine, how are you? Catherine, it's election night. We got to hang out tonight. We got to get each other through this. I think if I come on and we can kind of talk and commiserate, that sort of thing, people won't do other stuff to deal with their stress and frustration, drinking and stuff all night or whatever. Guys, but man, I'm going to talk about the election coverage, what's going on, and where we are in a second. So let me just give me 1 second here, folks. But join us tonight. The polls just closed, I believe. Indiana, actually, they say that Trump has actually won Indiana. Very, very important. So give me a second. LinkedIn, the sound is always bad in LinkedIn. I don't know why that is. Hold on a second. Yeah, so anyway, everybody, so my goodness, so right now, I just got done doing WCIU, and they were talking about the voter turnout. So over 100, why does LinkedIn say there's no sound at all? I don't get it. I don't understand you, LinkedIn. What is the problem, LinkedIn? Everybody come over on Facebook. Everybody come over to Facebook. Every time I get on LinkedIn, I don't have this problem on Facebook, folks. So if you come in on Facebook, you're going to have a better time hearing LinkedIn. I don't know why I have a sound issue with LinkedIn, but please join me over. Shoot. My goodness. I'm having all kind of issues, people. I'm having all kind of issues, folks. I'm so sorry. I got all kinds of issues going on, folks. I apologize. It's just a... Join us, guys, join us over on Facebook if you're on LinkedIn. Oh, good. Thank you, Tina. Tina Watson. What's up, Tina Watson? Tina, I am so proud of you. I've been watching you online and seeing all the great stuff you're doing. Could not be more proud of my wonderful former student, Tina Watson. Folks, we hanging out tonight. Now, I got about maybe 30 minutes or so before I got to get on this other this other program or whatever. But I want to talk to you guys. How are you guys feeling? Are you anxious? Are you scared? Marina K! What's up, Marina K? Do you know Marina K? You have a special place in my life. You were the first person that I rode my first Uber because of you, Marina K. You set me up my first Uber ride, and after that, Marina K, I was just like an Uber beast for years after that, and so I just appreciate you so much. Let me just plug this in here and get me a little bit better sound going. Okay, it ain't working. Whatever. So anyway, guys, so it's muffled and weird in LinkedIn. Yeah, come over to Facebook, guys. I don't know why LinkedIn is like that, but Facebook sounds just fine. Marina K is the party office in Louisiana waiting on my candidate. Oh, what candidate are you, Marina K, that you're supporting? Please let us know. I'd like to know. We can give them a shout out here with the folks here in Chicago. We can let people know about your candidate or whatever and talk about that. Okay, Tesman said it's good now over on LinkedIn. Fantastic. Okay, no champagne. No, listen, you guys, don't start drinking, okay? I'm telling you, I told you I'm a Christian. I believe that you can have a glass of wine here and there, you know what I'm saying? Maybe two. But don't come on, man. No matter what, don't start like, I had one friend who was like, man, I'm just about to hit the bottle tonight. Don't do that, guys. Come on. It's not worth it, okay? We're going to be okay regardless of what happens. It doesn't matter if Biden wins or Trump wins. Now, listen, the deal is, guys, for the most part, it looks like Biden has an easier path to the election. So if Biden wins Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, he is good to go. He is Gucci, as they say in the hood. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Trump would need to win Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and potentially North Carolina as well. Either group that wins Florida, they're going to be good to go. And so there's a lot happening, folks. There are a lot of different paths to this thing. Now, voter turnout normally for presidential elections is at about 55%, folks. And tonight, we got 100 million people that have already early voted, which is amazing because only 120 million people actually voted in the last presidential election. So we got 100 million people vote already early voting, and we had 120 million who voted in the last election. That is pretty amazing if you think about it, okay? So let's see here. I did say Gucci Teslam. Teslam, yes. I know you know, I know you think I'm old, out of touch, man, but Teslam, I am I'm Gucci Teslam. That's what I am. I'm Gucci. Okay, all right, so let's see here. Shakita Wells, hey, I am just ready for this to be over. I'm with you. Marina K says, I got 70 races I'm following. Vote for Adrian Perkins for Senate. Okay, now that is in Missouri, I'm assuming, so we can't do that here. But if you are in Missouri, support Marina K's candidacy, or candidate. Why? Because Marina K is good people, and if any friend of Marina K is a friend of ours, okay? Hector, what's going on, man? How you doing? All the way from New Jersey in the house. We got Missouri in the house. We got Chi-Town in the house. We got New Jersey in the house. Is Brooklyn in the house? Hey! Oh, that's a song. Anyway, okay. So, hey, Carla Monet Shea, what's up? My fellow thespian, fellow actress, what's going on, sister? After I get done stressing about this, Carl, I got to get back to work, and I got some stuff I've been writing and things, but, and I'm actually working in the middle of this. I'm doing a commercial and some other stuff, but man, this race has got me going, man. It has me going. Okay, so tell them how important it is to vote. Folks, I just did this whole video series about how it's important to vote. Between 2016 and 2018, 17 million people were purged from voter rolls in the United States of America. Do you recognize that the right to vote has been restricted and limited? I don't really care how you vote. I just care that you vote. However, let me qualify that. I do care that you are educated, because there are too many uneducated people who are just say that. It sounds horrible. So the educated, I love the uneducated. That's not what Trump said. No, what I'm saying is there are too many people that are voting, playing any, meeny, miny, mo, folks. I don't know about you, but it is very difficult to know about all of these races. And I'm sure many people went through this race today and they decided they were going to just kind of vote on somebody because they sound like a woman, or voted on, whatever. And so I actually just put a post up on my page that said that we really need 5 electoral changes as a result of what I'm seeing in the process. Number one, we got to make it easier for people to vote. There should be no reason why you have to stand in line for 3 hours to vote, 2 hours to vote, register to vote, voter registration, suppresses the vote, all this complication. We can bank online. We can buy houses online. You can buy a car online, right? And they'll ship it to your house, okay? You can do all this stuff online, but we can't vote. Why is that in 2020? Why is it when I walk into a polling place in 2020, they give me a piece of paper and a marker and say, go for it? It's 2020, people! What on earth is that? Like, why is it so antiquated, right? Why, when I was doing my poll today, my ballot, my marker was bleeding through the other side of the ballot. So literally, here I am, I'm marking, right? I'm marking the people that I want to vote for. They gave me a Sharpie. So I'm marking, and literally, I flipped my ballot over, and over the other side, you got the ink bleeding through. And so I was like, what is this? So I talked to the woman, and she goes, oh, you can redo it or whatever, but it should be fine. And it scares me. It really does scare me. This is where, like, I honestly, guys, I think Trump, needs prayer. I'm going to leave it at that, okay? He needs prayer. But honestly, his suspicions about the electoral process may not be fully crazy, because the electoral process in America is guys, it is inconsistent. It is antiquated, and it is scary for 2020 in the supposed best democracy in the world. We have to have a better system. We have a system of federalism where we have 50 different states that vote. So they said 50 different states that have their own electoral process. And so we've got mail-in, we've got absentee ballots. We have all of these various ways that people are voting, and I can tell you guys, it's terrifying to me. I think that the process is manipulated. Electoral college has to go. That's a whole nother conversation. Thank you, Teresa Clark, all the way from New Jersey. A Sharpie, yes. Can you believe that? A Sharpie. Do you know? Let me explain. Let me tell you what happened last time I went to go vote. I went to go vote in 2018. 2018 had a record voter turnout, by the way. And I think we're going to have a record voter turnout this time. And I think, honestly, the common factor is Trump, right? So, love him or hate him, he got the party lit, folks. He's got the party going. And, man, oh, man. Do you know can you imagine what it's going to be like when he leaves? Like, I think, honestly, okay, I'm telling you this. I think Trump is horrible for this country. Absolutely, positively horrible for this country. But he's really good for political commentary. because there's always something to talk about. I mean, every day it's like he does something crazy. Like the president of CBS literally said Trump is horrible for America, but great for our ratings. And I think that's what it is. And I think that, SNL did this skit. They were like, what are we going to talk about when he leaves? Well, the truth is, even if he does not win tonight, which doesn't look like he will, actually, he'll still be around. And so that's the issue. So anyway, in 2018, I went to go vote, and I went around my local area, and I go in there, my wife and I go in to vote, and the woman tells us, she hands us an early ballot. Now, we always vote on election day, always. I tried to vote early yesterday, awful experience. I went back to my usual. I just like voting on election day. That's just me, okay, whatever. But so anyway, so what happens is, right? So what happens is that they give me this ballot and they go, oh, this is an early voting ballot, even though you're voting on election day, but just take it anyway. And I go, no, I'm not going to take it anyway because you might not count it, right? Do you know, no joke, not joking at all, and I'm a pretty calm person, you know what I'm saying? Do these people call security on me? Oh, yeah. The woman goes to me, well, if you don't like it, you don't have to vote. And I kind of got a little upset right there. I was like, what? I have a right to vote, this and that. My wife, my wife's getting a little worked up. I was getting a little worked up. I didn't yell. We just, demanded our rights. These people called security on us. And they go, and the security guard comes up and goes, well, if you don't want to vote, then we're going to escort you out. And I said, and I explained it to her. I said, ma'am, the woman gave me a ballot that did not say that it was for today, that it was for a previous time, and I didn't feel comfortable filling it out. What are you doing? And I said, I'm not leaving. So with this whole thing, and we talked, we fill out this piece of paper to complain, blah, blah, blah. We end up voting, whatever. But it really bothered me. I'm like, what is this? And that's one experience. I've had other experiences before that are problematic in the polls. And I think, guys, when I look at our democracy, I'm kind of encouraging people voting right now. I really am. But when I look at what is going on and you look at the holes in our democracy, you ought to be terrified and also vigilant and also angry and working so we can fix these holes. The Electoral College is broken. The inconsistency across all these states represents a broken system. The fact that people have no idea who they're voting for is a real problem, folks. Teresa Clark has a comment up here, why can't majority simply rule? The Electoral College, Trevor Noah said it best, it's like literally going to Starbucks, wanting to order a mocha latte, frappuccino, whatever you order at Starbucks, and asking the guy in line rather than to order for you rather than asking the barista yourself. That's what the Electoral College represents. Now, we live in a representative democracy, republic, and a lot of times we offer representatives to convey our interests. That is true. However, why not have direct democracy? Why not have majority rule? If we had majority rule in this country, we would not have a race that came down to 6 states. So what states did tonight come down to? Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Georgia. Is that a new state, Georgia? Yeah, it is, okay. North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, Iowa, Florida, and Arizona, right? And so that's a problem. Miranda K. Oh, I see this. Okay, that's not a fair commentary. Please, in the comments section, I'm gonna put it up. Okay, I'm gonna show this comment because I think it's very important. Let me see here. Miranda K says not a fair commentary on the Electoral College. Please, please, please throw some comments in there about the Electoral College. I'm open to the discussion. But what I do recognize about the Electoral College is that it provides a disproportionate representation for smaller states, which in some ways may be fair, but they already get it through the U.S. Senate. They don't necessarily need it for the presidency. And a majority rule system, which is what we use for every other race in the country, and every other electoral process around the world does the same thing. The only place in the world, as far as I know, someone wants to correct me, please send in the comments. The only place in the world that I know that uses Electoral College is us, and the only race we use it in is the presidency. We don't use it for mayors, we don't use it for governors, we use it for state senate, for U.S. Senate, etc. And so I don't think we're getting rid of Electoral College anytime soon. But I do think we have to think about this. In the last 28 years, the Republicans have only won the popular vote one time. Actually, once or twice. One time. In the last 28 years. One single time, folks. That was George Bush's second term in office. You can go all the way back to Clinton, and they did not win. George Bush did not win the popular vote in his first term in office. Donald Trump did not win the popular vote this time around. And so what I'm saying is, ladies and gentlemen, is that the system it's problematic if it's not expressing the will of the people. And I think that is one of the challenges. Now, once again, are we going to get rid of it? Probably not. But I do believe that it's something that we ought to be thinking about in addition to all of the other things. I want to talk about money in the political process. It's the most expensive election ever. Politics costs money. I teach this in class, the 3 M's of politics: money, media, and mobilization. I talk about this all the time. Money, media, and mobilization. In my local race, 60,000 people in our ward, we were supposed to raise $100,000, right? We didn't raise that much money, but we were told if we don't raise $100,000, you may as well not even run, because you cannot compete, because you need money to get media and then win influence. And so in many ways, I'm not like opposed to money in politics, but I do think, because I think that it's important to spend money on elections. But when I see consistently that races are won at the 90% rate by people with the most money, this, ladies and gentlemen, I think is another problem. So, listen, I like people voting. I really do. But let me just tell y'all this, and don't get offended. Yeah, I'm going to offend some people when I say this, so please forgive me for this. But please don't pat yourself on the back because you voted. Okay? Please don't pat yourself on the back because you voted. Because if you didn't know what you were doing and you play any, meeny, miny, mo, that's a problem. Number one. Number two, if we don't stay involved in the process and deal with all these other issues we're talking about, gerrymandering, the districts being drawn incorrectly, the fact that we have a two-party system and we have a broken system where you really only have 2 choices, and so that's a problem. In my particular race, on my ballot today, we had close to 20 people who were unopposed on the ballot. 20 people. Why is that? There are no other people that can run? Because of the way that the political system is set up. And so we have many, many unopposed races. We could do ranked choice voting. We could do a bunch of other things to kind of get more engagement. But that's what's going on. So if you vote, like particularly these judges, and you kind of went through and just was like, oh, well, I talk, a lot of people was like, oh, this one was the person sound like a woman, so I just voted on that. I mean, come on, man. Like, that's nothing to pat yourself on the back about. And I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not even saying it's fully your fault, by the way. I'm really not saying that. I'm saying that the system is set up so that you don't know what the heck is going on. Because the system is set up so that the media gives you more information about what Kim Kardashian is doing than they do about what the Congress is doing. And that is a problem. However, in the year 2020, we have access to information. We have access to information, so we have to bear responsibility at some level for this. So who gets the most responsibility? I don't know, maybe it's 50-50, but at the end of the day, we have to do better. And we have to demand that our government does better by us, right? We have to demand that we are not going to be in a situation we got to wait in line. I got a buddy who lives in Harlem, and he literally puts up online every day the last couple of weeks, the lines, blocks after blocks after blocks of people. And then I get people online going, man, isn't that great? If you want to vote, you just got to work hard. No, you don't. That's the problem with our country, folks. We believe that the idea of meritocracy, that if you want anything, you just work hard. And if you did not work hard enough, then you are a loser. Guys, that does not work. Literally, I have people saying that to me about voting. Well, you should have voted earlier, or you should have prepared more, or da-da-da-da. No. You should not have to jump through hoops to exercise your right to vote. It doesn't make you better because you went and got a ballot earlier or something like that. That's not how this works. That's the wrong heart for this country. It's like saying to people, man, if I got my health insurance together, you should have gotten yours. No! Healthcare's a right, folks. We should not, that's a problem. And so, I saw the CNN poll tonight, and I thought it was so fascinating. And honestly, guys, listen, I was not always supporting Democrats heavily. I'll be frank with you, I went through a very heavy Democratic period in the mid-90s, early 90s, and then I kind of got into this Republican thing in early 2000s or whatever. And then I went back into the Democratic Party. But here's why. And I'm going to tell you this because I saw this poll, and it's on CNN, and I thought it was so fascinating. It said the number one issue for Republican voters was the economy, Trump voters, and then crime and safety. Okay? Coronavirus was like number 4 or 5. The number one issue, racial equality was like way down there, right? The number one issue for Democratic voters was racial inequality, according to CNN poll I just saw today, and then the coronavirus, and then healthcare, and then sort of going down the line. And honestly, guys, that says everything to me. It says everything to me. I'm not going to tell you, oh my gosh, if you vote for Republican, you're crazy. I'm not going to do that. But you know what? I'm also not going to play the game of saying both sides do everything, because that's true. It's not true, folks. Both sides don't encourage white supremacists. Both sides don't pretend like a pandemic that's killed 220,000 people does not exist and that it's almost over. Both sides don't try to rip 47 million people of their health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. No, both sides don't do it. So I think, neutrality, I said this the other day, and I believe it. I forget who I was quoting. I found it, whatever. But neutrality in the face of crisis and oppression is no virtue, folks. I'm not here to be neutral. I'm not here to tell you that, oh, this is a normal time. There's nothing normal about what we're going through right now. There's nothing normal about the police using their authority to kill people. And there's nothing normal about a president that does not understand that and then try to work to heal the country so we can do better. I'm not saying, once again, we can't get through this as a nation together. The police, they're a good police, they're a bad police, etc. Let's talk about reforming. Let's see what we have to do. But don't tell me people don't have a right to protest. That's not right, folks. So it's time for us to stand up. And I'm very serious about this. I don't think that, when you look at politics, that you should just be completely, neutral about people banishing the marginalized, building a wall, putting kids in cages. This is sick. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. There's stuff on the Democratic side I ain't feeling either. Right? I tell you, I'm a person of faith. There's a lot of stuff on the Democratic side. I'm like, I ain't really feeling that, honestly. I'm just being real with you. I'm just not. But you know what? Bill Clinton said this years ago. I read his autobiography, and what he said he was trying to figure out when he was a young man whether he should become a Democrat or Republican. So he was having a dinner with this guy, and this guy said to him, and I'll never forget this. I read his autobiography when I was in college. The guy said to Bill Clinton, he said, Republicans have a head and not a heart, and Democrats have a heart and not a head sometimes. And he said, I'd rather go with the heart than the head, because if the heart is right, I can get the head right later. And I was like, that makes sense. Empathy and critical thinking, right? I'm not suggesting, once again, Democrats are idiots or that Republicans are heartless or anything like that. But what I am saying is that if you don't have a heart for the marginalized, why are you in government anyway? I've run for office. I'm considering running again at some point. But the truth is, why would I get into politics what would be the point of me running for office if I was just going to try to make billionaires pay less money in their taxes? I could stay home and do that. If you're going to use the tools of government, you may as well use them to help somebody. Other than that, what is the point of being there? And that's what I'm talking about. And that is the difference. And honestly, right now, on this moment in history, the Democrats are on the right side of history. But it doesn't mean they'll always be there. So don't ever pat yourself on the back, even Democrats, folks, because it doesn't mean they will always be there. It's not about who's right. It is about what is right. That's what politics is about. In politics, there's no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interest. And so we have to make sure that every politician, every situation, that we are pushing forth the interest of the people. Y'all got me worked up tonight. I'm about to go in for real. I need to calm down. Let me see what's in the comments real quick. Okay. Raheem, thank you, bro. It's a right and a right. Imani Pleasant, yes, political education, voter education. That's where it is. I'm working on a bunch of projects that are really trying to push that, guys, because that is where we are. That's where we are. If we don't deal with this issue of voter education, guys, we're still sheep. There are folks that voted on judges today who could lock them away for a lifetime, but they didn't know because they did not take the time to figure out who they were. And by the way, once again, it wasn't easy either, folks. I talked to a friend of mine, it took her 30, 45 minutes to vote. It took me about the same, because it takes time to go through this stuff. You shouldn't have to be a political science professor to be able to understand a ballot, or to go through all of the various referendum questions and all of the various judges and that sort of thing. I think, and we should vote every year. And I know people think that's controversial, but I think we should vote every year. I think we should vote for less offices. I think we should be able to vote from home. I think we should vote for less offices. And I think the government should have voter education classes that are nonpartisan, that teach you not only about the process, but the specifics around who's running each election. And those can be done via video. By the way, if you might work for a government agency, I can make those videos for y'all, so holla at your boy. We could do that. But those can be done through video. And I think that, because what I learned when I was running is that I had the choice of trying to educate voters or get them to vote for me. And most people who are spending money on elections are not there to educate voters. They're trying to get you to vote for them. Period, point blank in discussion. So that's why this is such a very, very good. John Mallory, stop removing my comments. What are you talking about, man? What? Like, what? Where are your comments? I don't see any comments, John Mallory. I don't ban anybody. I don't even censorship. You have rights. I know we all have rights, man. I'm with you. I am so with you. Now, let's talk about tonight. So, anyway, they say Trump is obviously just won Indiana. They said that Kentucky, and if you guys are getting election results, hit me in the comments. Let us know what's going on. If your state poll has, if your state's polls have closed and you know what's going on, let's talk about this. But they say that Kentucky is in the early part of the elections leaning towards Biden, but it's not going to go towards Biden. They believe it's really going to go towards Trump. And so, our state, Illinois, there's no worry about it. Didn't even talk about. It's going to be blue. New Jersey will be blue. These are all the states I've lived in, by the way. I've lived in Indiana, New Jersey, and Illinois. Indiana solidly red. New Jersey solidly blue. Illinois solidly blue. And that is it. Okay, Raheem says, address the in-person voting that will be considered provisional outside of mail-in ballots. Right. So I don't know if we have this problem in our state, and you may have had it in your state, but there are people who are doing in-person voting, maybe because they are going to a different polling site. This happens. Maybe because they requested a mail-in ballot but decided to bring their ballot in. And they're going to be considered provisional voters. They'll get provisional ballots. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is terrifying because they actually came in. This, to me, goes back to the issue of how much a mess this electoral process is. And how much we have to demand after November 3rd, we have to stay as engaged in this process so that we can demand that these things don't happen. I'm terrified to find out, Raheem. I don't know all of the numbers and data and where this is happening, but I'm terrified to see it because I know for a fact it will put people's ballots in jeopardy. In the 2016 election, 1/3 of all the voting machines in Michigan and the city of Detroit, predominantly African American, were not working. Okay? This is very serious. In the 2004 election, Georgia purged thousands of people of color, purged their names off the voter rolls. Not Stacey Abrams, but there was a African-American congresswoman who ran for president. I can't think of her name right now, but she did this whole documentary on this thing. It was really, really crazy. So Ohio's too early to call. Biden is up. I'd love to hear predictions and check in next week. Here are the predictions, folks. I think the Democrats are going to win the Senate. I think Trump's going to lose. I think his path to 270 is harder than Joe Biden's. He has to win more states. And he's got the rural vote. So you got literally America has 3 votes. Urban, suburban, and rural. Rural, Republican. Urban, Democrat. Suburban, swing vote. They're swinging towards Biden more than they were swinging towards Hillary Clinton. That's why I think Trump will win. And that's based on the polls. Not Trump will win, excuse me. I think Trump will lose as a result. Now, what will happen after he loses is a whole other question. To me, that's terrifying. I don't think that there'll be huge riots in the streets. Do I think there'll be subversive plots and that sort of thing? From his followers to kidnap governors and all kinds of stuff? Absolutely. North Carolina and Pennsylvania. Teresa, why don't you just move to Pennsylvania and vote over there? I mean, come on, you live close already. I blame you for this. You're right there. You may as well just go right over the border be in Pennsylvania. I got a friend who, I live in Chicago. She lives here in Chicago. She keeps her voter registration back in Indiana, and she goes back and votes Indiana every year. So that she kept it purposely because she wants to be another vote against some of the stuff that's happening in Indiana. It's kind of funny. So I do think Trump is going to lose as well. Jennifer Thorpe, what's going on? How you doing? Yes. Yes, we do need a new process, and we need policy changes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's where democracy starts. It's not just about the election. It's about what happens in between the elections. That's where the battles are really won. And I want us to really think about this. This is a draining process. Democracy is draining, and it's hard. Winston Churchill called democracy the worst form of government, except for all the other ones that have been tried. That's what he said, right? He said democracy was bad, but it's all we got. It's going to take some work. It's going to take hard work. It takes us organizing and going to community meetings and being involved in our local school council and all these various things, holding fundraisers at our houses for good candidates and blah, 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 running for office ourselves. It requires these things. Otherwise, we have an aristocracy where the elite control the process, and they oppress the minority vote. And I don't mean minority in terms of ethnicity, I mean minority in terms of numbers. And as a result, then there is a system that does not reflect the will of the people. And that, my friends, is what is terrifying and what is scary. The fact that, yes, it's live. Okay, the fact that acrobatics with one vote says a lot of us let's vote college. I'm beating a dead horse. Absolutely. Yeah. People go crazy after elections, and it's terrifyingly insane. It is. My boy Vince Lombardi said winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. You're right, Kevin. Winning isn't everything. Isn't everything. It's the only thing. That's how politics works. And that's why we're so divided. If we did not have a two-party system, do you think that this country would be so tribal and so cantankerous and so vitriolic around this issue of my team versus your team, Biden versus Trump? I think that if we had a situation where we had additional options, where we had potentially maybe ranked choice voting, or we had an easier process to get other people on the ballot. Let me explain to you why, by the way, Democrats and Republicans really are the only ones on the ballot in most of these states. Because think about this. I want you all to understand this. This is behind the curtain, and I hope that you guys understand this. And maybe you know this already, and that's fine. But do you realize that the folks who are in office set all the rules for the electoral process? They set the rules for the districts where they're drawn. They set the rules for the number of signatures that you need to get on the ballot in a state. So once again, having run for office, let me tell you how this works. If you want to run for a statewide office, let's just say hypothetically, you're running for, I don't know, state senate or something like that. And let's just say hypothetically, you need to get 10,000 signatures in order to get on the ballot if you are a Democrat or a Republican. If you are an independent, you will need to get 3 times as much, typically 30,000. And if you are a third party candidate, Green Party, Libertarian Party, they'll make it. So I said 10. They'll make it the equivalent of about 20. Check your board of elections for whatever state you live in. I guarantee that is the truth. The Democrats and Republicans set the rules so they get no competition. So as a result, people don't run. They cannot run. So it's hard to get on the ballot. Ask Kanye how hard it is to get on the ballot. No offense, Kanye. Okay. Ask Kanye how hard it is to get on the ballot. All jokes aside, it should not be so difficult to get on the ballot if you're not one of the major parties. The reason why I ran for city council in Chicago is because they did not have a Democrat or Republican criteria for you to get on the ballot. You could run as an independent. However, most offices do not have that. You must declare a party. And if you don't declare a party, they put the barrier to entry even higher. Therefore, it discourages competition. Therefore, the people stay in office. Therefore, you have the same old definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Will I be up as long as Rachel Maddow? I sure will, Teresa. I am. This is exciting. Like, this is like the Super Bowl for me. Like, somebody who teaches politics, like, I'm gonna be up. I told you I'm doing this program from 7. Well, it starts at 7, but I don't go until 7:30. I just did a program at 6. I'm going on at 7:30, and then I'll be with them till 9. and then I'm coming back. That's all Central Time, by the way. So it's like 10 East Coast folks. Yeah, I'm coming back, and we're gonna keep talking because this is exciting, guys. This is the one time the entire country we get to come together, and we get to sort of exercise our democratic process together. We don't vote on Congress together. We don't vote on the Senate together. We don't vote on any local races together. There are 88,000 different units of government, so there are lots of places for us to vote. And yet, for the presidency, no matter where you are, rich or poor, black or white, East Coast, West Coast, South, North, we're all kind of in this together. And there's something that's exciting about it. And I think that is important. I prefer a popular vote. I think more people would turn out to vote if it was a popular vote. I agree with you. I don't like if your state loses nearly than half the votes go towards a candidate they didn't even vote for. Now check this out. This is a very good point, Kevin. The one state, what's up, Cliff? How you doing, man? Hey, Brian, how you doing? The one state that does not do that, anybody know what state? Let's do a little trivia. What state does not have a winner-take-all system for the Electoral College? One state in America does not have a winner-take-all, meaning that if you win 51% of the vote, you get all the electoral votes in that state. There's one state that doesn't do that. They actually break it up and they share it. In the comments section, come on, folks. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, somebody. 5, 4, 3. Come on, my political science students. Oh, Nebraska, man. Yeah, Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska too. Yes. So yes, we got Maine. Definitely, I forgot about Nebraska. So absolutely, thank you so much for that. So I don't. Does Nevada do the same thing? I didn't know that actually. I had Nebraska and Maine. But yeah. So Maine is sort of the most consistently used example of this. Yeah, I'll actually double check that just to make sure. But anyway, yeah. I'm watching these comments, but I don't know if that's the way to get us towards a more democratic process or a winner-take-all system. So once again, like for instance, Illinois, California, they're blue states. New York, Hillary Clinton won by millions of votes in those states, and so when you tally up the popular vote, she beat Donald Trump by like 3 million votes. But it didn't matter because she didn't win any more states, right? If there was a popular vote, let me just lay the scenario out. The candidates would really only have to really, it kind of would be the same problem because the candidates would only have to really campaign in a few states. But of course, those states are the most populated states. So they'd have to campaign in California, Illinois, still Pennsylvania, New York, Florida, and Texas. And that's it. That would be the whole campaign, by the way. No other state would really matter because if you can get those states, you could win the election. So I guess it would be probably the same challenge that we have right now. But it would still represent more people, which means it'd be more of a popular vote, which means the majority would rule, and that would be a problem. Or it would be a good thing, right? So the injustice of the popular vote, right? Yeah, so you're right, Marina K. It would be that. I mean, that would be the challenge. It'd be the same problem we have right now, but the difference would be that those states would represent more people, and as a result, the will of the people would then be more reflected by the presidency. That would be that. So, anyway, if I'm a Republican in California, I don't have a vote unless it's a popular vote. That's true. If you're a Republican in Illinois, your vote doesn't really matter. But truthfully, guys, if you're a Democrat in Illinois, your vote doesn't matter much either because, I voted for Biden today, but does it really matter? Not at all, right? Biden's got Illinois, so my little one vote on top of the millions of other votes, if I live in a swing state, my vote would matter tremendously in the presidency. And I do believe that my vote matters down the ticket. So I'm not saying your vote doesn't matter, but I'm being realistic. I don't like selling people false stuff about the democracy. I think we got to keep it real, folks. I think we really, really do. And I think that we need to recognize that, yes, voting is good, and yes, your vote matters, and yet you ought to know the truth about this process as well. And that is a real deal. So, yeah. So anyway, okay. Yeah. So I knew Maine. I got to double check the other two there. Okay. So anyway, all right, folks. What else is going on here? Okay. Okay. So, but anyway, so tonight is gonna be it's scary, folks. It really, really is. The challenge for me is that what President Trump has whipped up is not going anywhere, even if he leaves office. This over 60 million people that voted for him last time and potentially same number, if not more, or whatever this time, they're not going anywhere. When you look at the polls that show that the coronavirus is not even the top 3 most important issues among Trump supporters, I don't understand that, right? I guess I understand why racial injustice is not a top issue for them, but I don't understand why the coronavirus is not. Somebody's got to help me with that. Yeah. Imani says that. Oh, Imani, you get this comment up again. Imani, you hitting the good comments. I'm gonna give you another comment. Bring it up again. But yeah, people make it. You know what I find to be funny, and please don't be offended by this comment, folks. But when people say, "Oh, they're all the same," you know what that says? Honestly, it says you haven't read anything. Why is that? Because they're not all the same. That's like saying that all doctors are the same. Or, I don't know, all mechanics are the same. All teachers are the same. They're not. There are differences. And so if you take the time to recognize those differences, then you will understand how the process is and how it works. That's that. So, yeah, man, that is a really, really big deal. And so I think that I find it to be intellectually lazy when we kind of do that, right? But I think it's important to recognize that. Now, interesting enough, tonight, I think, when you look at kind of how the polls are going around this question of who's voting for who, I know particularly that people who look like me, African-American males, are very disaffected and are not coming out. Philadelphia, they're not turning out. Miami, they're not turning out. And their voter numbers, I think they're voting like 8% for Donald Trump, which is, I guess, I don't know, that's high. I mean, maybe it is, whatever. But I think that there is a real sense of being disaffected by many people, a real sense of discouragement around the process, and I get that. However, it does not help us if we do not engage, and if we do engage, we can at least move the needle forward. That's all I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting that Joe Biden will be a panacea. I'm not suggesting Kamala Harris will be a panacea. But I am suggesting that if we move the ball in the right direction, right? If we at least have people in there that acknowledge some of the inequities that exist in this country, acknowledge the challenge of this pandemic, acknowledge the idea of healthcare, acknowledge the need for a sensible foreign policy that builds alliances and diplomacy, puts us back in the Paris Climate Agreement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then I think we can at least move in the right direction. That's all I'm suggesting, okay? That's all I'm suggesting. Cliff says, if Trump loses, we still have some huge issues to deal with. Do you believe Biden and Harris will attempt to deal with them? You know what? I don't think that... I'm not sure what issues you're talking about, Cliff, so why don't you pop those in the comment section and give me some more clarification. I can answer that. So let me, before I do that, before Trump said drink cleaner and you'll be fine. He didn't exactly say drink it. What he said was, which I still think was dumb, but he says to Dr. Birx, who he's cut out Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci. He calls them idiots now, but that's a whole other conversation. He said to them, hey, we got UV light. Can we see if we can get the light into the body and it'll kill the virus? And then he goes, they say that bleach kills the virus on the surfaces. Maybe there's a way we can get bleach inside the body. Can we look into that? That's what he said. He didn't say drink bleach, but that still was pretty dumb, right? Right? But whatever. I mean, honestly, guys, let me say this. I pick and choose my battles with Trump. There's so much stuff that he's done and said that drives me batty. That kind of stuff. Oh, that is kind of crazy. So I'm not going to minimize it because it is nuts. Okay. So, yes, there's the worst excuse to say that they're the same when both might be bad, but one will always be better than the other. We learn about the candidates. You know what you believe, so look for what you feel is important to focus on our society. There's also much work in America we have to work on America to make that statement. You're right. I agree with you, Monty. Come on, my poli-sci students. I love y'all. Teresa, I forgot what I said. You said, why is that? I have no idea what I was even talking about. So, anyway, but Cliff, I will say for you that I don't think, in terms of healing, we're not going to get healed anytime soon. Okay, Cliff gave me racism, health disparities, medical insurance, gun control, etc. Okay, let's hit them all real quickly. Racism. I think Biden and Harris will try. I think there's such a large part of this country that hates them for who they are. that it will be very difficult. I think Biden, I hate to say it, being an older white male, was probably needed at this moment. Just be real. But I still think that they'll easily still hate him. Although I will tell you that their criticism of him, honestly, is interesting because their criticism of him is his son, Hunter Biden, and also his perceived lack of cognitive ability, which to me is really not that hard. Those are not hard hits, folks. They're not talking about his character necessarily, et cetera, et cetera. It's talking about maybe the 94 crime bill, and he hasn't done anything in 40 years, but they came after Clinton much, much harder than that. And Obama as well, and Hillary as well. So that's actually a very good sign. Health disparities, absolutely. So what they're going to do is they want to expand the Obamacare mandate to create a public option. The public option was the initial plan when Obamacare was first began, but it could not get the popularity across the country. A public option would be a public health insurance company that would then compete with the private health insurance companies and then drive down the cost for health insurance. It still doesn't get us home, but it gets us further down the field. And so I do know that they will be working on that and probably will get that done, particularly if they get the Senate. It's a done deal. And that's the medical insurance as well. Gun control, they will not touch it, Cliff. Nobody is interested in this country in fixing the gun problem in this country. I get very frustrated about that. The Republicans love their guns. The Democrats are terrified of taking away people's guns. The idea that Trump goes around these rallies saying Joe Biden's going to take your Second Amendment is just a lie. Joe Biden is no gun control advocate. Bernie Sanders was not a gun control advocate. Look at his legislation when he was in Vermont. He wasn't pushing gun control. Barack Obama didn't push any gun control. The only person you could argue maybe pushed gun control was Bill Clinton with the assault rifle ban, and that expired. So truthfully, we're no further along on the gun control issue than we were 20, 30 years ago. And the reason is that we have a misinterpretation of the Second Amendment. Don't get me started on this. We have a misinterpretation of the Second Amendment. And as a result of that, ladies and gentlemen, everyone believes they have the right to carry a weapon in this country. And for me, what I understand constitutionally is that right should be tied to a militia, and that militia ought to be under the authority of the government, at least according to the Constitution. And that is why I think that issue is such a ridiculous way we do it. We might be surprised. I think Biden's going to go very progressive on his appointments. They already hate him, so you may as well go all the way. I think that's kind of the thing that Obama learned eventually in the second term. If you hate me, I may as well do the things and stop trying to be conciliatory because you're not going to work with me anyway. So I hate that, but it's the reality of our political process as well. And felon voting. I love it, Imani. I think the progressives will push him on that. I don't think that either Biden or Kamala Harris are real criminal justice reform folks, although they have a plan for it as well. But I do think the progressives around them will push them, and I think that's a huge issue. Why can't felons vote? Really, what is the damage there, right? What is the problem? So, Cliff. Okay, I'm getting off of here because I got to get ready for this next show. Cliff's got me started on the Second Amendment, and I cannot leave without hitting it. Cliff, listen, I'll be back on at 9 o'clock. Before 9 o'clock, I want you to go read Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. That's all I'm asking you. You're a brilliant guy. You really, really are. Just read that and let's discuss it when we come back at 9, okay? National decriminalization of marijuana, they are doing that as well, okay? Cliff, I'm telling you, Article 1, Section 8 says that if you are part of the militia is under the authority of the state government to be called upon, really the National Guard, under the disciplines prescribed by Congress. I really think that the interpretation of the Second Amendment, by the way, 4 justices agreed with me in 2008. Heller versus D.C., 5 agreed with the interpretation we have now, and that's kind of where we are. So anyway, guys, have a great night. I'll be back. I am going to take a break, and I hope you guys come back, and we'll just hang out some more tonight. Man, this is crazy. So bless you, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.